Hello and welcome to the Dental Insiders Podcast, the industry's single source for the greatest news and industry insights from visionaries in the dental industry. Our guest today is none other than Dr. Lou Shuman.
And we are very excited to have Dr. Shuman with us. Dr. Shuman is the president and CEO of Celerant Consulting Group, and he's personally known for his expertise in internet strategy, strategic relations, emerging technology, digital marketing methods, and operational practice management. Dr. Shuman is an executive consultant for a number of entities in the dental industry, including Cabo Kerr Group, Dexis, iCat, Pelton & Crane, Propel Orthodontics, WEO Media, Z-Quiet, HR for Health, and Implant Direct.
Are you going to read that whole thing? We're going to be here all day if you have to read that whole
thing. There's a tremendous bio in front of you.
I know. Okay, so this was going to be one podcast, and now it's going to be 7 podcasts just to cover all this information. And
you guys are killing me.
Dr. Shuman is the creator of the prestigious Pride Best in Class Awards, which is an unbiased nonprofit initiative that, in conjunction with the leading technology experts in the field, selects annually the most important technologies in the industry. And on a personal note, he has a passion for soccer. He played for a U.S. national under-18 team and was sponsored both as a player and coach by Adidas, played in Europe, and went on to create his own soccer club in Boston with 7 boys and 7 girls teams that won many state titles and a national title. So I think we'll get into some of the other elements from the bio in our questions here, but we are tickled pink or purple to have Dr. Shuman on the show with us today. Welcome, Dr. Shuman.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks for joining us. We really appreciate it. We know how busy you are, but it's nice to take a little time out of your day and kind of share, as we've described, the goal of this is really to talk to people in the industry who are visionaries. And you sort of fit the description to a T of the kind of person we're looking for to learn a little more about, how they got started, what they've learned, and just learn more about them to create something new and different. So again, thanks for joining us. So take us back.
My pleasure.
I think it's always fun to learn from people sort of how they got started, what influences they had in their life. So why? I want to go back to your childhood. So where did you grow up? And I know it's kind of a strange question. Most people don't ask you. Where did you grow up, and what are some of those some of your childhood memories that you remember as a kid?
So I grew up in Natick, Massachusetts, and then moved to Weston, Massachusetts. And so that was home. And as far as vivid memories of childhood, you mentioned soccer, and actually it probably starts there. When I was 5 years old, my next door neighbor was the starting striker for the Glasgow Rangers and moved in at the age of 18 years old. And he didn't have any brothers and sisters, and at age 5, he took me on and trained me for years, actually for 15 years. And one of my memory titles, which I'll never forget, was he ended up playing for Boston University. As you can imagine, having a professional striker play for Boston University was hysterical. He broke every scoring record to date. They have a trophy named after him. But the memory that I will always be special to me is I was the mascot. I was the team's mascot, and I'll never forget. And at that time, all the players were international. I would give out the oranges at halftime. They would all sort of huddle around me, and I would look up at these huge giants, that were like gods to me, and I would give them the oranges at halftime, and it was really special that they embraced me as part of the team. And as you know from my bio, at that point, my dream was to be like them, to be a professional soccer player and to play like they could at the sidelines. And I was blessed that Christian Parlanti was his name, trained me for 15 years, and I got to ultimately play in Europe and to experience some of the things that I hope I would be able to at that age. So that's definitely a strong memory.
Well, it's funny. That's where you and Michael have a lot in common, because he actually has always dreamed about being a sports mascot. That was his childhood dream.
And it's my adult dream.
That's right.
I just don't have the coordination or the acrobatic talent. But, that's a natural segue, professional soccer to dentistry. So how do you go from being a national level and international level soccer player to, deciding to become a dentist? How did that come about?
Yeah, that's also an easy question to answer. So my dad he's retired now, but he was a periodontist. Before that, a general dentist, and incredibly capable, incredibly talented. But where it started was when we were in Natick, he built a one-chair dental office in our very small house with a white picket fence and a rose garden and a picture window for that one chair. And what I'll never forget is the way people loved him. People would come from the Natick community. Some of them walked to the office from the neighborhood. And what I'll never forget is how much they loved to see him and loved coming. And at a very early age, I still remember going, you know what, someday I want to be like him. And so, you know, that stuck with me for a long time. And so when it came to making a decision professionally, I remembered how much he took care of people and how important that was and how special those relationships were. And that was why I wanted to follow in his footsteps.
Cool. And I think so many people do that, right? Inside of dentistry and outside.
It's about helping people.
Well, it is. And it's once you see it.
So was your dad, Michael, a professional mascot?
No, he wasn't.
No, okay. Just checking.
Yeah, exactly. No, you don't want to break the mold there.
Yeah. So again, another great kind of transition to keep that conversation or that thread going is, so what technology, so you're big in technology, and we're going to talk in a second about the Pride Awards, but what technology that's around today do you wish you had back then that you think would have been a total game changer? I mean, a lot of the technology that's there today is big news, but like what back then would have just been like, wow?
Yeah, well, that's easy for me because as an orthodontist in a former life, I was given, when I left practice and went into management, I was very fortunate to work at Align for Invisalign for 7 years. And the key thing was I headed up clinical education. I was involved with strategic relations. I was blessed to be part of the growth of Invisalign into the orthodontic and dental community, but I never actually got to use it myself. And interesting enough, within my dream as a practitioner was to have a group practice. So I ultimately, as an orthodontist, had a 10-doctor, 25-team member group practice. And as that grew, I actually divided ortho into two pieces. I brought a friend in who did the kids, and I specialized in adult orthodontics, where I would do a lot of multidisciplinary dentistry, you know, where we would do prosthetics, perio, ortho. But interestingly enough, as an adult specialist in ortho, I never got a chance to incorporate Invisalign into my practice, which would have been just phenomenal. Right. So I would love to have had Invisalign in practice before I left practice.
Cool. So Matthew mentioned earlier, and I stumbled all over it in your intro, but the Pride Best Class Awards. So the ADA just happened. As usual, we had the Pride Institute Awards. So tell us, what were the highlights this year?
Well, this was year 7, and which, of course, we could have a whole separate meeting on the dream coming true of what started as trying to make a difference in creating a program that would give the dental community the right technologies to integrate in their practice and ultimately create a process that the manufacturers would recognize as the most unbiased nonprofit, as they call the Oscars, related to that. And so that mission, as a result of a lot of people helping me along the way, has become very, very unique and special. And I would say, as far as highlights, the Best of Class expo that is at the ADA is divided into two pieces. One is the winners. The actual winners have mini booths that surround the space. ADA gives me the largest space at the meeting. We have a 9,000 square foot space. And the reason why is it's separate of the 23 winners this year that get a chance to provide hands-on to the attendees. We have a 275 seat classroom, and we do 3 days of ADA CERP provided programs on technology. And we're blessed that they're all sold out for all 3 days as a result. And I would say some of the highlights were we had a new speaker as part of the program this year, Naomi Cooper, and she was fantastic. And so a wonderful addition to the expo, and I hope to continue to have her for a long time. Her level of expertise in social media and marketing is really unique, and a great educator and a great key opinion leader. So that was one of the highlights. The VIP reception every year is a wonderful highlight. It's when we cordon off the whole space, and that's where we have the award ceremonies for the winners, and we bring special food, my famous gourmet cupcakes. We do wine tasting of very, very special wines, and it's really like a who's who gathering. And this year, we had 6 journals come to photograph it and videotape it. So it was really unique to give the award where, 7 years ago, I would have someone with one little camera. And this year we had Dentistry Day, Dental Economics, Oral Health Canada, Dental Tribune. It just went on, and it just meant a lot to me that what I wanted to start as something to make a difference has created a level of interest and respect as far as what it represents to the community. That was really special to me.
I'm sort of seeing Lou as like the commissioner of the dental industry. Yeah. Kind of like unites all the people, the teams, and brings everybody together.
I'm going to add that to the bio.
I think it might be something we're going to add there. I think you're the commissioner. Seems like a good.
Well, it's very funny you say that, because someone came up to me at the meeting and they go, "We have a new name for you." And I said, "Well, what's that?" They said, "You're the mayor of ADA."
The mayor. The commissioner captures it better.
It does. Commissioner, I think you can carry a big stick as a commissioner.
Yeah,
the mayor is,
Mayor, you only get a sash.
Yes,
commissioner,
right.
That sounds cool.
On kind of evolving on trade shows, because we talk about trade shows a lot. Michael and I go to a lot of trade shows and talk to a lot of manufacturers, a lot of dentists, a lot of people in the industry, and it just seems like it's evolving, obviously. But what's your take on where they've been? You've been around for a while and seen a lot. What's the future of trade shows? Is it more like the Pride sort of smaller groups? Is it more like these seminars that we're starting to see around the country that are 50 to 100 docs? What do you think it is? We have our opinion, but we'd love to hear what you think.
Yeah, that's a great question. As you guys know, I do executive consulting for 14 companies right now. So this is actually a very big deal when it comes to budget and when it comes to where should we go and are we getting a return? I have very strong feelings about this. And I can look at, and prospectively, I'm going to give you 2 opinions, one as a dentist and one as it relates to the manufacturer. And so I think that dental trade shows are going to remain. And I think they're important because as a profession, we typically work in single offices or with a few partners possibly. And there's rare occasions where we get a chance to get together as a group, either regionally or nationally. And so the ability to, close the office and get to meet with your peers and to actually, have a more organized focus to see your community is, number one, really important to us because we don't get many chances to do that. We have regional societies, but the bigger shows, of course, bring the bigger manufacturers. And product is critical. And the need to, you're not going to be able to take an iCat with a rep and bring it to my office to try it. So with what's happening with different things in technology that will have a big impact on our practices, we still need to find a home to be able to go and to test product, to see it, to touch it, and have hands-on experience. So from the dentist perspective, I don't think dental shows are going away. I think the dentists see it as an important part of their year. It's typically an important buying part. It's get together with your community, get hands-on, and also, of course, get educations from key opinion leaders. Where I see it's necessary for this to be a success going forward is there needs to be a middle ground about the definition of education. Education right now, and it's important as itself, is something in order to get CE cannot really open the door to product education. And I think the manufacturers basically finance these meetings with the tremendous amount of money they spend at the exhibit halls. There has to be a middle ground where speakers are allowed to educate around the products that are in the exhibit hall. And not to sell them, but to educate them. Every time with the companies I work with, where there's a speaker who talks about and educates about the products that they're interested in or they feel are important, the manufacturers get a better return by being at the show. And I think that we need to come to the middle where ADA, AGD have to recognize that while they're literally paying for these meetings, that there is an educational initiative that allows speakers to talk about product in a educational perspective that will give these manufacturers a better return on investment, which I think they deserve based on the amount of money they're spending to be there. So I think that the future needs to address that.
Right.
Great.
Yeah. So I think this next question really is the next step, I guess, of that answer or of the last question. So you're an authority on new technologies and you're an authority on practice management. And Matthew and I and all of us in the industry, we hear stories sometimes of dentists that go out, buy something at a trade show, and they never get around to learning how to use it. And so it ends up in their closet of stuff they don't use. And so, how does a busy dentist juggling, the need for education, as you mentioned, and juggling obviously the practice demands, how do they go about implementing a new technology without disrupting their office, the staff, patient flow, production, et cetera?
Yeah, I'm smiling because at my group practice, we used to have this operatory that wasn't plumbed, and that was for future growth. We used to call that the technology graveyard. My partner, he couldn't wait to go to Yankee. He would be like, the drool would be coming out of his lips, ripping the checks out because this was buying time.
Right.
And we would go, oh my God, what is he going to come back with this time? And we'd always peek over to look at the graveyard to see of years past what was brought into the practice that never got implemented. I actually do a 3-hour program on return on investment, and it relates to purchasing of technologies. But to break it down in just to a few sentences, the first key to implementing technology is recognizing the importance of your team. Because ultimately, your team takes the ownership around knowledge and implementation. Who's actually using that technology the most? And many times it's your team. So I feel that you need to bring your team into this decision process right from the beginning. You need to make sure that they are given the opportunity to learn, accept, acknowledge, and even understand why it's being integrated into the practice. And there needs to be a level of formal education. Be it with the rep, be it taking a day. So you're not trying to teach it while the practice is running. That's just not going to happen. So I've always felt, take the time, educate your whole team, do hands-on, and then one of the things I recommend is have a leader. Pick one team member who might, be really interested in that technology and have them be the owner. Have them be the person who interacts with the company, that finds about updates, that trains new team members. Who's going to train the new team member? So my opinion would be to give ownership to someone who's in charge of that technology in addition after that formal training begins. And I think you'll get a much greater understanding of its importance if the team embraces it, related to the ultimate integration of it, which is to benefit the patient. They need to understand that, to accept it and to recognize it, to learn it, and then to implement. So they can tell the patients, we just got this new technology and why it's for you, and this is why.
I think so often the team gets lost in these discussions.
Right. And
it's a big mistake.
Yeah, when we travel, and I notice a lot when I sit and talk to dentists on a lunch table or somewhere, on a trade show floor, or even in their office if I'm working for a client doing a video or something, I always find that the practices that seem the most successful are the ones where the team is really tight and they're all working together. And even the ones, you see some doctors bring their whole staff to a trade show, like 7 people. And, at first you're like, that's got to cost a fortune. What's the purpose of that? But you realize that getting the team in, creating that sense of environment, getting everyone on the same page and feeling like we're all working together, boy, that just pays dividends through everything. And even what you're saying is through the implementation of technology, which we're in a technology boom right now, right, in dentistry in the last 10 years. It is is technology is just coming out faster and faster and faster, and it's changing the way practices run, right? I mean, it's changing workflow, it's changing ROI, it's changing patient experience, it's changing all those things, and I think the team is, you're right, the team is like the seventh leg tool that always just, we don't really need it, but so important. The good ones get it, and the ones that are struggling maybe don't get it, and it's a shift in the market.
Yeah, and I have two words for that, and those two words are ownership mentality. I mean, the practitioner is in the operatory, and you can't do what I call knee-jerk management out of your operatory. Your team needs to have that understanding that they have ownership in that practice. They're given the ability to make decisions as if they were the owners, and so you need to make sure that that your team is empowered. They make or break the practice. They are the ones that have the relationships. I always say that, in one of my lectures I go, patients fall in love, and 95% of the time it's not with me, it's with the team. And so that the respect that they deserve, the experience that they have, you need to create an environment that they feel that, that they have the freedom to be able to utilize that experience and to recognize a situation where that, what would they do if they were in that situation, and have the confidence knowing that the practitioner allows them to make those decisions because they feel that's what's right for them and the patient and the practice. Totally agree with you.
Yeah, that reminds me of that also reminds me of the Nordstrom employee handbook. Have you ever seen the Nordstrom employee handbook?
I have. I actually have a lecture about one of my experiences with Nordstrom. I talk about there's the sort of the dual types of customer experiences I've had, and the Nordstrom one was unbelievable, and the Delta one was unbelievably horrible. Right. And so when I'm presenting this tomorrow in Winnipeg, and to talk a little bit about the importance of customer service, because it's a lost art. It's no longer the rule; it's the exception. And I think as practices, we need to focus on that importance, and to be that differentiator by focusing on customer service is a truly key element of our practice.
Yeah, it's kind of a lost art. And for those of you who don't know, the Nordstrom Employee Handbook is a postcard. It's a two-sided postcard, and the front says Nordstrom Employee Handbook, and you flip it over, and all it says on the back is use good judgment at all times. And that's the only rule.
There you go.
If you can if you feel comfortable enough in empowering your team to live by that, you've got it made. And that's, the trick is in the details of getting the right people, training them.
The leadership aspect, though, is critical in that, because you say being able to have to trust your employees to have that mindset and be able to use that postcard handbook. Right. It goes with the leadership, and it goes with the two words that were just mentioned earlier, ownership mentality.
Without a doubt. Yeah, we're kind of now in a dawn. Technology's big and has been big for 10 years, but I think we're now, what's emerging, to me at least, and I think maybe you agree, is that service, whereas, a lot of people think they give great customer service because they just say, well, we'll just answer the phone quickly, and we'll clean the bathroom real nice, and we'll have good, we'll dress nice and have our logo on our scrubs, and that somehow is good customer service.
That's not good customer service?
It's the start of running a business, is what it really is, but it has nothing to do with customer service. Has to do with making that connection with the consumer to the point where they're no longer questioning,
right? Where they fall in love.
They fall in love, and so that's it. So it's a really, I think we're in the dawn of that service, that next level of service, and things requires a lot of work. And that's, if it were, I saw a speaker one time, and I can't remember who it was, but one of the things he said, if anything were easy, if something were easy, everyone would be doing it, right? If customer service,
that's right. Really, it's hard work,
and it would be, everyone would be doing it. And the truth is, being the best at any one thing is only a small percentage of people want to achieve that, or want to do what it takes.
Or will put the work into it.
Right.
Right. And to sort of tie this in a bow, you're absolutely correct. You need to be committed to it. It's hard work, and the practices that really have it. I was working with a practice, and I was talking to some of their patients, and I asked them about the practice, and they gave that practice the ultimate compliment, and that was, we just like to come. Now, going to a dentist's office isn't, typically, a number one on the list, but the patients in the waiting room go, you know what we love about this practice? We just like to come. And for them to say that to me that's that ultimate focus, that they get it, that they recognize the importance of who they are and the service that's provided to them. So I think that's really cool.
I'm just curious, we talked about technology and we've talked about falling in love. So outside of dentistry, what technology have you fallen in love with?
That's easy, actually. The technology I've fallen in love with lately is OLED, organic LED. Organic LED was a technology that was developed by Kodak, and it was originally created for fighter jets that could be, you can curve the technology, so you know how the cockpits are curved, you could actually integrate it into a curved cockpit, and the level of brightness was amazing. And so LG, they got the exclusive license of organic LED for the television market. And an organic LED, an OLED TV by LG, is not just one generation ahead, it is literally 2 generations ahead of every single television that is sold on the market today. And so if anyone is, if you want to talk about technology I fall in love with, and my friends ask me all the time, because as I know that Matt knows, I have an audio and video background over the years. I tell them I got a call from a friend yesterday, and he said, I'm looking for a TV. I said, well, this is an easy conversation. I said, there's only one TV to buy, and that's the LG OLED, because it is truly 2 generations ahead of everything else. And one of the reasons why is plasmas, LEDs. The biggest difficulty or challenge with all of these technologies is real black, is to be able to show something that's real black. And the problem has been over time is that plasmas and LEDs, when you see something in black, the LED is only dimmed. So it's gray trying to get black. OLED is the only technology that that's been created as of today that when it goes black, the LED actually turns off. So it goes pure black. And so that, with its unbelievable contrast, and you should just go to a Magnolia or at a Best Buy and just look at the OLED. They only make 2 models, and it is truly an unbelievable technology. And they use OLED for other things, like they're using it for MP3 players and different small sort of technology tools. But for something of impact, the TV industry, this technology is incredible. And I'm expecting them to license it to the other TV manufacturers at one point. But like I said, for Christmas, everybody, if you're looking for a TV, this is the only one to get. So there you go.
It's on my list.
I just wrote it down.
You did?
And if you're looking at me, there's one right there.
It is. Okay.
I was going to ask, one behind you an OLED, so there you go.
There it is. That's correct.
Technology coming to like computer monitors? Is it possible to then? So when you talk about the true black, I'm thinking right away, in trying to tie this into dentistry, I'm thinking radiographs, like digital X-ray, that is a lot of black and white, and the clearer the image, the better the diagnosis, whether we're talking about 3D or whether we're talking about 2D imaging. Do you see it coming to dentistry?
OLED is already in dentistry as far as small screens to be able to see things that are in some of the products that are out there. It's a really difficult technology to work with. To give you an idea, and Matt, don't laugh. So I got the first one. The first one that came out was actually by Sony. It was an 11-inch model. I could actually go back and pull it out. It's this big, and that was like 8 years ago. It was the first of its kind. It took literally years to take it from that size to the 55 and 65 inch that is now available. So I don't know how far it can be implemented based on the difficulty of implementing the technology, but it's already in some of the small products where at a small size it's easy to implement. But yeah, I think that we'll see more of it. I do.
Yeah. Cool.
I do, especially once LG finally allows it to be utilized by other companies to start, playing with it and experimenting with it.